Welcome to the Inappropriate or Not podcast, brought to you by TaylorMade Chaos. On this podcast, we'll bring you some of the highest flyers and most interesting people in and around the fitness industry. We'll talk and laugh with CEOs, franchisee groups, exercise specialists, and to those who work in sales and marketing. And we'll share their insights and knowledge of all things related to the business of fitness. Love what you hear? Simply like and subscribe to keep up to date. Now, on with today's show. Proudly brought to you in conjunction with Fit Into Shape, a small but dedicated team of fitness industry professionals delivering on all of your fitness equipment and gym design needs.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the first podcast episode of TaylorMade Chaos. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Glenn Taylor. I'm a filer pilot. I volunteer at the local animal shelter. For those of you who do know me, please keep your mouth shut. I'd like to introduce my first guest, and given it is the first episode, I guess it goes without saying, welcome to the show, Andy Peat. Now, I say without saying, we'll get to why it's appropriate or actually inappropriate a little bit later on. Andy, welcome to the first show. Great to be sitting here. Originally, where it was planned to be in Chanhassen, Minneapolis, but we're now here at the beautiful Langham Hotel at the Gold Coast.
Did you say you were a fighter pilot?
Well, I wanted to be.
Oh, but we're learning everything.
Remember, for those of you who don't know me, do know me,
got it, sorry,
keep it quiet.
Yeah.
So, Andy, what are we doing here?
You tell me. You brought me here.
That's a wonderful question. Matt, I think we should start with why are you my first guest on this podcast. How did we come up with us doing something together originally?
Well, you know, we've known each other for over a decade now, and you're selling gym equipment into the Snap Fitness business in Australia and New Zealand, and I think we became good friends. And you know, back in the day, I think we talked about having a radio show together and calling it inappropriate. But here we are, both business professionals, so we won't go down that path. But happy to be guest number one on TaylorMade Chaos. Sounds like a bit of a golf brand, but I love it. So happy to be guest number one. So yeah, fire away.
Right, we'll take a hack at everything. Maybe that's why we are golf hacks. Anyway, so good little bit of an update there. We've obviously known each other for a while. But mate, tell me, go back to where it all started. You know, where did you grow up as a kid?
Yeah, so from Christchurch, New Zealand, South Island there. Yeah.
Yep, good. And for those of you who are listening, if any of you need me to translate, obviously Australian and Kiwi, very, very different, very hard to interpret the Kiwi accent. But, winners being from New Zealand.
Mm-hmm. I would actually say that we have the more worldly accent and you sound like a bogan.
We'll get to the bogan bit later, but yeah. And mate, you grew up in Christchurch. I mean, we've both come a long way since humble beginnings. But give me a bit of a rundown. How did you get into fitness? What brought you to here?
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm sitting here at the Gold Coast at the Snap Fitness Lift Brands Asia Pacific Annual Conference, which is really where I got my beginning in the fitness industry. I did start off as a personal trainer, ultimately not out of love of fitness. I played a lot of rugby union, but it was mostly a better alternative to milking cows, which is what I was doing at the time. And I thought that a 5 a.m. start as a personal trainer was better than a 3 a.m. start as a dairy farmer. So got into personal training. Really took more of a keen interest and skill set towards the business side, in particular the sales front. So shifted from personal training into more membership sales and management. And from there, I did the whole cruise ship thing, and then was able to open the very first Snap Fitness Club in New Zealand, which is a 24-hour gym chain based out of Minnesota, which we brought over to Australia and New Zealand in 2010. And then that was really the first one of the first 24-hour gyms in the area, and we've scaled that to what the business is today, with over 300 locations across Australia and New Zealand, and over 1,100 locations worldwide within a portfolio company called Lift Brands, which also has investments in Fitstop, 9Round, and we own Fitness on Demand, which is where I reside today as the CEO of.
Wow. So it's obviously been a fair journey. Let's go back and focus on a couple of those details. So you said you went from being a PT and then you went into the cruise ship role. Now, we were talking off camera or off audio yesterday, and you told me, as I was sitting on a reformer, that you may have done a little bit of reformer Pilates instruction. Talk to me about those days. What was your interest in teaching reformer Pilates, or was it just part of the gig?
Yeah, zero interest. It was part of the gig. But to be honest, once when you do cruise ships, you, as a personal trainer, you are selling first and foremost. You're selling products. It's a commission-only role, and as part of the role, you have to teach all group fitness classes. So you have to become certified as yoga instructor, Pilates, reformer Pilates. Depending. I was teaching step aerobics, which everyone thinks is funny when they look at me, but to be honest, I have natural rhythm, so I enjoyed that quite a bit. But when I started doing reformer Pilates, it was, and I'm talking this 15 to 16 years ago, before the sort of reformer boom that we're in today. You really do get a huge respect for Pilates and reformer. It is incredibly challenging, and that is why we see a lot of athletes doing it now as complementary to their gym routines, and obviously people around the world getting into reformer. It's a great thing. So I have not done a reformer class since then, but I should, because you do get good results from it.
Very good. Well, mate, we might come back to your journey a little bit more, but one of the things that you said was quite interesting about your rhythm. Now, you and I have been out on one or two evenings, couple of nights where I may have supported your single life. Tell me about the wingman event. That let's see how you recollect my strength as a wingman to you. Where were we? In San Diego, maybe 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to get into that night on a business podcast, Glenn, but I'm happy to share that you are the world's worst wingman. And yeah, luckily I'm able to recover from your terrible wingman. So yeah, I don't know if we need to jump into that night, but yeah, there's been plenty of nights together, and that is, one of the benefits, I'll say, of doing business with yourself is, you are very good at building a relationship and a friendship, and I value that a lot. So,
right, that was a very professional response, but I think one of the beauties of the fitness industry, and when you move from being that operator, as a PT or on the tools and the trade, as you go through your career, there's so many highlights that you get to have. And, we've been fortunate to spend far too many nights, or at least I'll say evenings. I won't say nights together, though they do go beyond midnight on many an occasion. So going back to that cruise ship type role, you're on the cruise ship. How long were you there for?
18 months.
And where were you based out of? That was a US.
Yeah, so I started in the Baltic, so the north of Europe, up through Scandinavia, Russia, Estonia. Very, very good for seeing places you may not go on your own.
Yeah.
But tough when it comes to the fitness side, because you're generally dealing with sort of older population when it comes to selling the supplements that you had to sell to survive on cruise ships. That stuff you really wanted to get into the Caribbean, which is where I went and spend the rest of my time. So out of Miami, sort of 7-day cruises, predominantly American-based demographic, and yeah, it's a tough gig. But for any PT out there, it will teach you about yourself. You will find out if you are a salesperson or not. It's as simple as that. If you are, you'll survive and you'll have a great time. If you're not, you will not last. But it's a great way to see the world, and had a lot of fun. And a lot of the friendships I have in business today have come from that place, because there's no escape. You're on the boat, and you got to work with people, and you literally have to learn how to sell.
So tell me a bit about like the routine with that. You said they were about 7-day cruises. What what was the routine? Like, you got on board, you worked for 7 days straight, or what was the go?
Yeah, 6.5 days you work. It's hard work. You typically do 6 to 8 month contracts. I don't know if this has changed, by the way, because it's a long time ago.
Well, we're veterans.
Yeah, the company was called Steiner, and I'm assuming they're still around. I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but first of all, the gyms on cruise ships are phenomenal. They're like, particularly the modern ones, they are better than most gyms you'll see on land. And you typically have 1, 2, or 3 trainers. You will, like I said, run all group fitness. You'll start off with early classes. You'll have to do a lot of public speaking and teach these seminars, which allow them for you to book consultations to either sell personal training or to sell supplementation. And you'd be surprised how many people go to the gym on cruises, particularly Americans. That's just part of their routine. But they'll come to these seminars because they're sailing at sea and there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So you get the ability to teach them a little bit about nutrition and fitness and wellness, and then book them in for a consultation where you ultimately do some testing and find out their body fat percentage, and you're able to sort of build a plan for exercise, nutrition, supplementation, and that's kind of what you're selling. So it's hard work, but you have a fun time with the crew from all walks of life, all countries, and it's not really real life on the ship. It's kind of fake, in the sense of anything goes, and then you get off the ship and you're back in the real world. It is an adjustment, but a lot of people have done it for a long time and they make really good money out of it. So, like I said, it's something for people in the industry who are looking for a change. I genuinely believe I wouldn't be where I am today without it, because it taught me to sell and it taught me to speak. And I do a lot of speaking engagements now, and that was really the first time I was thrown in the deep end on public speaking, which is terrifying. But I do believe if you can speak and you can sell, those are catalysts for success in the fitness industry. Whether you're a trainer, business owner, or manager, always comes back to sales and then giving a good experience.
Mate, my firm belief, and I've done quite a bit of sales training over the years, is everybody is selling in some fashion in a gym. From the creche ladies who are selling their services. It could be creche men nowadays, but typically it used to be creche ladies. From front desk who say, I'm not a salesperson, but they're the frontline representation of the business. I feel firmly that everybody is selling in the business, and it's just how refined you are at those skills. But, going back to your journey, it sounds like, you put a lot of tools in the toolkit in learning at that stage. So you came off of the cruise ship and then you ended up back in New Zealand. Was that right?
Yep. Left the cruise ship. What did I do? I was actually about to go to law school. So one thing that happened many years ago when the fitness industry was considered really a hobby business, this is really before sort of institutional money started backing chains.
Yeah.
Most gyms were owned by a couple of entrepreneurs, or you had sort of the Tony DeLead of the world, the Leon McNeeses of the world starting to build, Fitness First and Good Life. But from a perspective of the masses, it was a hobby business. And, I'd let some Americans convince me that I needed to become a lawyer or an accountant to be successful in life. So when I left cruise ships, I came back ready to start law school, got a job at the airport working as a customs officer. That was going to be me for 5 years while I became a lawyer. And an old mentor of mine gave me a call and said, listen, we're opening up this 24-hour gym, and do you want to be the first club manager, and we'll just see how it goes? And I was like, I don't really want to go to law school. So signed up. We opened up Snap Fitness in Papua Nui in Christchurch, New Zealand, and the rest is history. From there, I was able to become a franchisee. I was able to do some gyms with some really good friends of mine, which was really great. Became the CEO of Snap Fitness Australia, New Zealand at 25, and then the COO of Lift Brands at sort of 28. And then the Chief Product Officer for Lift Brands Global at 31, and now CEO of Fitness On Demand at 36. So, for me, the fitness industry is a beautiful place because, you're able to get out of it what you put in. And I'm a young, uneducated, dyslexic person who comes from just a middle-class family, and I've been able to scale within the business just simply by being around the positivity that the industry has, but the growth mindset as well. And if I was lucky enough to, be given a chance by some people, but back it up with good work. And that's what I see a lot of now, a lot of PTs and club managers who want to be gym owners, or they want to, conquer the world and create their own empire in the fitness world. And, it's an industry that you can do that. I won't say relatively easy, but maybe easier than if you were trying to be in banking or insurance or something where you are competing with, a lot more people, a lot more money. So.
Yeah, look, it's an amazing industry, and I think where you touched on that mentor was Corey Gibson, right?
No, there was really three. Yeah, Corey was the start. And Corey's one of my best friends today. He's an absolute maniac. He's what I consider an exceptional human. He's been through a lot in his life, and yeah, he pushed me harder than anyone's ever pushed me, particularly in sales, and taught me a lot. And he was the one that really pushed, Leon McNeese and Darren Strosh, who are really godfathers of the Australian fitness industry from Creating Good Life. He was the one that pushed them to give me a chance as a young guy, and they did. And all three are like mentors. They were business partners of mine for a while, and really good friends now. So, I owe those three a lot, and I try my best to let them know that I'm grateful for them.
Yeah. Well, our massive audience here is going to be a great way to have that sentiments echoed across multi-channels.
Well, of course, listening in particular, up the wires.
Wonderful. So you said Snap Papanui was the first one,
mm-hmm.
and if memory serves me correctly, you had some massive success with that club, because it was kind of, I think you still had to have a really good skill set, but it was kind of a golden era for that new franchising 247 branding to hit. So tell me how the franchise supported it, but also how those skills that you'd built over the years had kind of led towards you having that success that I guess helped propel you into that accelerated career that you talked about.
Yeah, so really, I'm very open on the early days of the 24-hour boom in Australia and New Zealand being, I don't want to say the word easy, because nothing's easy. It was extremely hard, but it was easy in the sense of if you got the location right and you got the product right. We were the first brand that came in at sort of $11, $12 a week. And at the time in New Zealand and Australia, the sort of big box, the Les Mills of the world, the fitness, they were all sort of $25 to $30 a week.
Yeah.
So we came in, cheaper price point. We were the first 24/7, and did, very much suburban-based location. So close to home, cheaper, and just didn't offer group fitness or pools or anything. So the 80% of a gym membership that didn't use that stuff came to us. So Snap Fitness Papanui was successful. It was a slow burn to start with, because people didn't. The 24-hour thing was different. I personally thought everything was going to get stolen.
They didn't know what they did.
Yeah, I was nervous about it. Really, what catapulted us was we had Corey had done, Snap Fitness Papanui and Hornby, and they were both decent clubs. And then myself and a couple of my friends did the first franchise in Christchurch of Snap Fitness Bush Inn. And when the Christchurch earthquake hit in 2011, devastated the city, devastated us. We lost friends and buildings and things, but all three of those gyms survived, and most of the other gyms in the city didn't. So all three catapulted to thousands of members, and that's where Snap Fitness really started to build a good reputation as a really strong business. And from there, Corey and I were just on a plane every week, flying around, selling franchises, opening gyms. But the difference between us and everyone else is a huge amount of emphasis on pre-sales and a huge amount of emphasis on sales skills. And the 24-hour industry really bred a lot of poor salespeople, because it was easy. It was like people just come in, join up. A lot of that sort of big box mentality of following up with leads was sort of losing track. But one thing Corey and I really bestowed was keeping a proactive sales mentality.
Yeah,
because most gyms, I won't say most gyms, a lot of gyms these days can just be fixed with more sales, and you can't sell a shit product. You have to have a good gym.
Yeah,
it has to be clean. It has to be modern. Nowadays, it has to have appropriate strength equipment. As we see a huge boom in female strength and lifting, But you got to follow up leads. It's as simple as that. And I just think people often ask me what's one piece of advice to grow my business, and it's spend money on marketing, but it's the basics. It's still following up leads.
Yeah.
Particularly in a world where we live today, where it's internet based and everything like that, it is just some sort of follow up.
Yeah, mate, it's incredible how people think there's some form of a secret sauce, and to me, the secret sauce is do the basics well and do them often. And people keep looking for these, shortcuts or things to make it better, but hard work is always a big part of it, and work ethic sounds like something that developed from a young age, that farming background, cruise ship.
Yeah.
And then you took that work ethic into the Snap business.
Yeah.
I know there's a little bit more to your career than just Snap.
Mm-hmm.
You've always had, and as we've both often discussed before, hate the word entrepreneur, but you've always had that mindset of wanting to do something yourself. And I know for a while there you were working on developing your own app brand.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and how that's evolved to be, the success that it's become today, albeit under the Lift Brands banner?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I've always had. I was fortunate, like I said, fortunate enough to really surround myself with people who had a huge growth mindset, and whether it be the Snap Fitness lads that I talked about earlier, or a couple of my friends in Christchurch that wanted to do Snap franchises, who ultimately had the money, and I was able to join in with them, and got myself to have ownership in 9 clubs across Snap Fitness and 9 Round at one stage. And that was really good, particularly the Snap clubs. We were able to grow those and exit those well. The 9 Rounds were a little bit harder. The boutique required a little bit more hands-on experience. I was off doing the whole corporate, growing Snap Fitness as a corporate brand still. But yeah, I saw a gap in the market a while ago around digital fitness, and this is really before the Pelotons of the world and all of this. And I sort of started a software based on challenges and sort of 8-week challenges. At the time, sort of Michelle Bridges challenges were quite big, and it was all website based. The app technology wasn't there yet. And then ultimately expanded that into more nutrition and programming. And I tried to do way too much with it versus just like focusing on a couple of niche points. Snap Fitness use that technology today. I don't own it anymore. From a business standpoint, it's been really good for Snap, and I've been able to grow the technology using their resources. For me personally, it was just a huge lesson. Software startups are really hard. You need a huge amount of capital, and that was a big lesson coming from the fitness industry in terms of gyms, where the gyms are very P&L based, cash flow, paying dividends each month. Where technology is, you just got to reinvest everything back into the product for a significant period of time. So it was a journey. It's one that I look back on as, like I said, as a lesson. But ultimately, the engine of that technology is now used in Snap Fitness as their mobile app, as well as Fitness on Demand as their mobile app, and the product's significantly different to what it was back in my day. And that's worked out kind of well for everyone. So dabbled in software, also dabbled in the beauty industry, made some investments in backing people, and not all of them have worked out. Like I said, I had good success with the Snap businesses and bad success with kind of everything else after that, which it's all good. It's just a lesson. And as a young, I hate that word entrepreneur, but as a young entrepreneur, I was trying to do everything at once. And the biggest lesson I've taken out of it is, just be obsessed with one or two things, get those right, set yourself up. And you can only really start to do multiple things when you've got the ability to, and you're backing other people versus doing it all yourself. So, it's kind of a journey on the investment side.
Now that you're the wise old age of what?
36.
37.
Yeah. 36.
I feel like you've still got a few more years to see the fruits of all the things that you've been trying and expanding upon, and hopefully see the fruits of those labours. But we've glossed over a fair few bits of your career. You know, we've glossed over the CEO of Snap New Zealand and then going to Australia and then going over to the US as product manager. We'll probably touch on those a little bit more because I think they've been part of the journey. But where you've gotten to is the current role now. And I think that technology background has helped you go into that role as CEO of Fitness on Demand. Talk to me a bit about that. How have you found the last couple of years of being in that role? Or 12 months now, isn't it?
Oh, 8 months.
8 months, yeah.
Good research.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. And, you know, technically,
expect
I'm
anything
still
less.
a pseudo employee of yours in that respect. So great research from me. 8 months. But tell me a bit about, you know, how you went from the product officer into that CEO role and what the last 8 months has been about.
Yeah, so I was the chief product officer for Lift Brains, so predominantly looked after some of the member technology for Snap Fitness around the world, the procurement, supply chain of equipment, and build out of clubs, design, things like that. Fitness on Demand is owned by Lift Brains alongside Snap. We solely own it. We're not a minority investor or anything like that. So we have this ethos at Lift Brains of one team, and whether it be our sister companies to Snap or, you know, franchisees, members, it's all kind of this one team. So when Ty Menzies and myself, he's the CEO of Lift Brands, we went over to the USA during COVID and moved over to there to take on these global roles. One of the things we identified early was this Fitness on Demand business, you know, needed to be more integrated into Snap, but also could do a lot out in the fitness industry. And so I started off there just as an advisory role, sort of 1 day a week, grew to 2 as they started to build out their mobile app. So I started to help them with their mobile app design and development. And the opportunity came up in August last year to take over the business as the CEO, which for me was an exciting opportunity because to get back into a CEO role was interesting, but I really liked the people of the business. I thought they were great people, or they are great people.
Yeah.
And the business was like all businesses that are 10 to 12 years old. It hadn't evolved too much. The product had evolved a bit, and it's a good product, but it was still sort of having challenges of its legacy product, and the brand had been around for a long time. People thought they knew what it did because they'd heard of it 10 years ago.
Yep.
So taking on that, since then we've changed the brand around, launched a new website, and ultimately launching a new suite of products with it. And just to put a context on it, Fitness on Demand is historically a group fitness product where a digital screen is in a group fitness studio and people can follow a digital class. And this has been around longer than Peloton or any of those pieces, because people in a gym would go in and do a yoga class. And it's really, really great for supplementing labor issues for group fitness. It complements a live schedule. You can go from teaching 5 classes a week to having 20 available, which is great for your marketing. And so what I wanted to do as the CEO was not only enhance that group fitness experience, but take Fitness on Demand outside of the group fitness studio. And now what we do is essentially all TVs within the gym. So we have media channels. If people want to replace their cable TV and save money on that, we have, sports channels, wellness TV. You can use Fitness on Demand as digital signage. And then, of course, the mobile app where we're bringing our content to life, all branded to our customers. So it's been an exciting 8 months for me to really, rally the group behind a vision and push forward. And we're starting to see good success with customers now taking on the product and scaling it both inside the group fitness studio and outside of it. So we have, for example, some stretching based non-audio, easy to follow screens that are available. We have, like I said, the TV channels, the digital signage. So if there's a TV in a gym, we want to have something on it, whether it be commercial fitness, multifamily housing is a big one for us. So gyms within apartment complexes, hotels, and corporate wellness.
Yeah, brilliant. And I mean, FOD, touching on the history of it, it started sort of 14 years ago, and it was almost a vision that was ahead of the technology that was available at the time. And that legacy product that you talk about did have a little bit of stigma for a while, but I think, the technology has accelerated well beyond what that vision was, and the company is now headed in such a great path. I mean, for those of you, those who are listening who don't understand, talk to me about the scale of FOD. I mean, there's over 3,500 sites globally with FOD in it, isn't it?
Yeah, 2.5 close, but yeah, it's a scaled business. Yeah, it's not just in gyms like commercial fitness. Like I said, we do the in-room fitness for all the Marriotts in Europe, for example, and we're in corporate wellness businesses or health insurance businesses in the US, and it's just about getting content in front of people. I describe fitness on demand as essentially a delivery vehicle for wellness content. And whilst we have content, we also offer the platform to customers who have their own content, like Les Mills, for example. Les Mills are best in class when it comes to content, and that's what they focus on. We don't create our own content, but we create a great platform that their content's able to be delivered through, whether it be a screen on the wall in a studio or via a mobile product, so people can do it at home, which is a necessity these days post-COVID. So the product's hugely evolved. We've also evolved it so that, existing businesses out there that already have an app or they already have a platform or whatever, they can just use our API to integrate into their existing ecosystem so that our content is showcasing in their product today. And the content is interesting because really it started off heavy on the spin, step aerobics, ab dancing, Zumba. And now it's really evolved into still that, but I find a lot of like short form stretching is being consumed. People are using the content for hip mobility prior to lifting weights, particularly women. They're trying to improve their compound lifts, and they know that, essentially mobility exercises prior to that is crucial. So they use the content for that. And we've just released a category that's based around pain management. And that's really big for some of our corporate wellness customers who are dealing with truck drivers or factory workers and whatnot, where they're able to say, hey, let's strengthen up your back. You're on your feet all day, you're lifting. And for us, personalization of content to the end consumer is really the goal, whether it be, like I said, a factory worker through a corporate wellness employee or a gym member who's brand new to the gym that has failed in the gym before. For us, if we can get the attendance up for our customers, we know that that's going to give them better retention in the future. So that's all. I don't know if that makes sense from an audio standpoint, but certainly the website does a good job of explaining it. But we're always happy to chat to whomever about the product as well.
Yeah, look, I think, sometimes people can think because the name is Fitness on Demand that that's quite limiting. And, there's such a broadness and a depth and obviously a lot more evolution of the product to come. So I know you're only 8 months into the role, Andy, but, at 37 years of age, I'm not sure that you see yourself. 36, yeah. 36. I keep aging you prematurely. It's the grey and the red and the beard that throws me.
To be honest, I've already aged just being on this podcast. The setup for this was extremely stressful. I wouldn't expect anything else.
We're trying to keep it professional. I mean, he actually briefed me before we go, and he said, Glenn, there's two sides to my personality. And he said, today's is professional. I'm like, well, we'll do our best. It is chaos after all. I've now totally lost my train of thought, but at 36, not 37, 8 months into the role as CEO, but a bright future, still a long way ahead of you. What's next for Andy Peat?
A good question.
a rub at the bar with me. We're going to go have an Appleton's.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah. Look, just doing my job well. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I do, I believe in the company, and like I said, I've got a great team, and I'm trying to add value to their lives and to our customers' lives. And I've relocated to America. I'm enjoying myself in America. I'd like to stay there for a bit, come back to New Zealand at some stage, I think. But yeah, I'm not sure. I just, grow Fitness on Demand is all I'm thinking about right now. So
yeah. Look, and I think, we've touched on a lot of things during the podcast so far, but one of the things that I really like is hearing people's journeys. And, you've shared and brushed over quite a lot fairly quickly. But there's just so many opportunities in the fitness industry, and you touched on that earlier. To go from being a trainer to being the CEO of a publicly, or not a publicly listed, but a private equity funded or owned group over that 17 to 20 year period, it's pretty incredible. There's not a lot of people who get to have that journey, and it's been great to sort of sit here and talk about some of these things with you. Tell me something that most people wouldn't know about Andy Peat, and this can be professional or private, or one of each if you like.
Something that they don't know. I have had multiple boxing fights, but I can also play the bagpipes and the piano. So there you go.
There you go.
Maybe not a fun answer, but that's all I can think of.
There is a scoop. I mean, luckily for you, we're only doing audio here, but I can see, he won his last fight by about 50 metres. He's still got a perfect nose. Beautiful. So he hasn't done a lot of boxing over a long period of time. But, mate, what else do we want to talk about? I mean, I am a very fly by the seat of your pants type of guy. What else have we got to talk about? What's interesting?
What's interesting? Yeah, I think one of the things that probably doesn't get spoken about enough in the gym space is kind of what to do on the floor these days, on the gym floor.
Okay.
And I personally, in the Snap Fitness business, one thing I preach to franchisees is to really, what are you doing on the strength side? Because really, the generational changes coming through. It's interesting for gyms because you've got Gen Z coming through, who both genders are lifting weights. Social media has changed what is a ideal body type, and strength is in. And I'm not seeing enough gyms facilitate that and adapt to it. And what I mean by that is if you've got 2 squat racks in your gym and you have over 400 members, it's not enough. And the difference is back in the day, people would go into a squat rack and they would do 3 sets of 12 squats or deadlifts, and then they'd leave. Now what they're doing is they're spending an hour in there and they're taking their kettlebells, their bands, and they're doing 5 different exercises within the one apparatus. And
their kettlebells, their bands, their tripods, their cameras.
Yeah, their tripod, which I'm starting to see get banned quite a bit from gyms, which is, interesting. I don't really have a viewpoint on that, but, adapting to the rise in strength, I don't believe that's going away. I don't believe people will all of a sudden just get back into cardio. What I think will change and continue to evolve is we're in this holistic world, wellness world post-COVID. I feel we're going back, and weight loss is making a comeback. We're seeing weight loss drugs become prominent in the US, and gyms starting to question, what are we doing about that? I see strength training continue to rise, but I see enhanced strength training now. And what I mean by that is people getting into technique sessions and education around lifting within gyms. I've seen it as a really good lead generator for PTs to do, free sort of technique sessions a couple of times a week. Obviously with content that companies like Fitness on Demand's delivering around, the mobility side, which enhances the lifting, but starting to see a lot more medical, the line between medical and fitness becoming closer and closer. And, Equinox just come out and say, hey, we're doing a $40,000 a year membership and you get a doctor. Well, there's probably people that will pay that in New York, or the big, all the finance bros wearing their Patagonia vests will probably do it. But it is an interesting concept because there are gyms, and even Australia, like, Total Fusion, Newstead in Brisbane, for example, they have a medical membership and people are taking that up. And one thing that the owner said to me that, explained it really well is he said, you go to the doctor and they take your bloods and they do the test and they give you the normal ranges. Well, these medical fitness things, they're trying to optimize, not normalize.
Yeah.
And that's all people want. They want to be able to live longer and live better. And that's where fitness is starting to merge on the medicine side, which I think is a good thing, because the world is starting to take notice that fitness is not only just a cure, but you can prevent. It's a preventative measure. The industry is growing 7 to 10% every single year globally. Gen Z is coming through, and they are maybe the highest consumers of fitness that we've ever seen. Baby boomers are one of the biggest trends that we see in the fitness industry. Now, those two demographics want different things. Gen Z is they grow up with the internet, the social media, they don't tolerate, bad products and stuff because they're all, needy and they all want everything. But the baby boomers are spending money and time on fitness because they're trying to just live a quality life. It's simple as that. And I've actually seen some great gyms do active aging classes, tailored towards that demographic. So that's a bit of a rant on kind of what I see as the changing landscape of the industry, from strength through to the medicine side. What can you do as a mum and dad gym operator in, Kalgoorlie, Australia sort of thing, that's not going to open up a medical facility? You can look at your gym space and you can say, how many squat racks do I have? Is this equipment 15 years old? Am I following up on leads? And what am I doing to enhance the experience? And the line I love the most that I give gym owners who refuse to change anything is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And there's just going to be more and more gyms that open up. And whether that consolidates in the next few years, it probably will. It always happens. Every business is survival of the fittest. At the end of the day, people are always going to want health and fitness in mind. No AI or technology or pill will replace the feeling of a gym and the community vibe that you get from it. So.
Yeah, look, I think it was an important point that you touched on before. And I think, like Formula One racing, where you bring in these new high and expensive technologies, it does have that trickle down effect. And I think we're seeing that with the medical integrating into the recovery, the wellness and the health and wellness, that, gyms are no longer called gyms or fitness centers. They're wellness centers. Interestingly, one particular company obviously coined the word wellness, and they don't have now wellness type products. I think the industry has evolved so much over the last 20 years that you and I have been fortunate enough to be in it. Talking about in italics with my fingers up in the air, saying wellness, what does Andy Peat do to keep healthy, strong, well?
Not enough. No, it's a good question. I live a pretty busy life traveling. This is my third conference in 3 weeks in my third country. It's a lot of flying. You can never beat sleep. Sleep is key. Water is key. Sleep and water. For me, I've spent most of my sporting career was rugby union and then boxing, but always been in the gym with those two things. And then just for my own benefit, I've been terrible when it comes to mobility, and I'm paying the price now. Wake up every day a little bit sore, but I'm making a conscious effort now. I go to the gym 30 minutes earlier than what I'd normally do to go through the stretch routine that my gym has and some of the stretch machines that they use. And, it was hard at the start, but now I'm in the habit, and now I wouldn't go to the gym without doing that sort of stuff. So making a conscious effort for that. I have been doing more on the sauna. I like the ice bath thing is interesting. I live in Minnesota, so it's freaking cold.
It is an ice bath.
7 months of the year. Yeah. But what I've actually been doing interestingly there is lake plunges. So jumping in the lake during the winter. And that's kind of cool because you're out with nature, and it is. I do believe in the mental benefits for it. But for me, really just focusing on my immunity. So certain supplements I'll take around, zinc and things like that to try and increase my immunity. Stretching, and then not just lifting anymore. And not just trying to lift for
ego's sake,
gain or ego. You're trying to lift for more, functional sort of side of things. But you can't go past sleep and good nutrition. And it's just good choice. What it is choices. And I've found it's allocation of time towards positive things. If I finish a hard day's work, sitting down and watching Netflix for 30 minutes versus going on the treadmill, and you can bang out a 3-mile run in 30 minutes, what has a more positive outcome for my life? That's kind of a question I ask myself now before diving into it. But Ty Menzies always says, there's no such thing as a bad workout. And, that stuck with me, whether it's 10-minute stretch or 1 hour killer run or something. There's no such thing as a bad workout, just consistency. So consistency. Outside of other things I've tried, I really like some of the stuff that's out there with recovery around compression and the Hyperize and Theragun companies. I think some of their stuff's quite cool. I do like saunas and plunges. Torque, sorry. Yeah, the Torque Shank in particular.
Oh, amazing. What a great product.
For wellness, but mate, whatever helps you sleep, whether it be a good bed or sleeping in a separate room to your wife or your husband, whatever, sleep is the catalyst of life, I think. If you are not sleeping, everything else will struggle. If you are sleeping, and then just you are what you consume. And I'm not talking nutrition, I'm talking like content, the people you're around. And the thing about the fitness industry I like versus finance or insurance is just there is an aura of positivity to it. And the more positive things that you consume and surround yourself with, I just think the quality of a life and that to me is encompassed in wellness, not just the physical but obviously the mental. And at Snap Fitness we've done a big push in the last really 7 years, and I'm really proud to say actually it started in New Zealand, where we did start to align the gyms with mental health charities and ran challenges. And the things I've seen in people who've done those challenges that honestly had told us that they were about to kill themselves, and then they saw a mental health challenge for 8 weeks and thought, why not? And then they end up changing their lives. As fitness operators, there is like a somewhat responsibility, I think, that you can affect people's lives through positive changes. And that is, I've gone off tangent now, but I do that a lot. Yeah, that is wellness to me. It's just,
what's your personality type again in the overpriced consultants?
I didn't say that. You've called them.
I mean the high value consultants.
Yeah. They said that I'm chaotic.
Well, very apt that you're on TaylorMade Chaos talking today. Look, I feel like we could just continue to talk all day and solve the world's problems, but we're going to have to get you back on another episode. But from my side of things, the question that we posed at the beginning, inappropriate or not, I think we were pretty on point today, pretty professional.
Well, it's the most, other than the setup, it's the most professional I've ever seen you. So I'm proud of you,
Well, it's nearly been an hour. My attention has been well and truly focused. I haven't been my usual ADHD self, or whatever acronym you want to put on my chaotic behaviours in life. But
I will say, but I know you're building your brand and putting yourself out there, and that's a very brave thing to do. But to be yourself, I think people resonate with authenticity. But Glenn does have a huge amount of experience as a club owner, both in the boutique sector and the traditional sector, and as well as a distributor of equipment for multiple brands over multiple years. And it's worth a conversation with him just about your business, even if you're not talking equipment or anything, because there's not that many people in the industry that have sort of seen and done the things that this man's done. So that's my endorsement for you. And he didn't pay me to say that.
I didn't. I'd love to say it's not about me, but when your show's called TaylorMade Chaos, obviously it is a little bit to do about me. So, Andy, thanks for the free endorsement. Brought to you today by Andy Peat Inc. Mate, I've had an absolute blast. Obviously, this is our first show. I think when we get to come back, once I've got a bit more experience, you can be less of a guide, and hopefully I can have a few more insightful questions. But had an absolute blast today running through this. Mate, before we finish off, is there anything else, one last final message you want to give to the listeners out there? Or maybe we'll just keep it as listener. We're only just beginning.
No, I think pretty good.
Wonderful. Well, mate, I've had an absolute blast. This was our first official episode of TaylorMade Chaos. Inappropriate or not, you be the judge. Once again, thanks, Andy Peat. I understand it's been a pretty busy schedule, a lot of trade shows, feeling a little bit run down, and Matt, you've given it your all. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.